Welcome to the 1 Minute Apologist. We interview the world's leading apologists to provide credible answers to curious questions.
Can we explain the origin of life from non-life?
Yeah, I think detectives use this process where you use kind of investigative questions, right? You know, the what, where, when, how questions. And so if you ask those same questions about the origin of life, you see some really apparent problems from trying to explain the origin of life in our universe, unless, of course, we have an originator of life, a divine originator of life. For example, if you ask, well, where could it occur? Well, they've tried to locate it in the oceans, the origin of life, or on land, the origin of life, or in the atmosphere, the origin, or under the tectonic plates, or in space. Every one of these locations is insufficient to explain the origin of life, largely because there's this chicken and egg problem. You need the machines that build proteins to exist in order to build the proteins, but the machines themselves are built from proteins. There's always a chicken and egg problem about how at the smallest, most foundational, simplest levels of life we can get this thing to appear when you have this chicken and egg problem. But not only that, if you look at just the when did it occur? Well, it appears that life on our planet is it's just there's not enough time in the history of our planet to get the kind of complex life. You see life emerging on the planet very, very early. Even the most adamant scientist who's an atheist will have to point to life existing in a pretty robust form pretty early. So the problem you have is not a good when, not a good where. Of course, how? That's even the biggest issue. It turns out that all of life is driven by information. That's what conquers the chicken and egg problem. The information in the genome is what conquers all of this because it gives a complex set of instructions that are expected to be both heard and met. The problem is there's no example anywhere in history, as Stephen C. Meyer says, where information comes from anything other than an intelligent source. So the one question that seems to be missing out of the equation when it's all a what, when, how is the who question. Because who's can actually overcome all the problems in the other questions. But of course, nobody wants to ask the who question because that who ends up being the one thing we're trying to reject usually, which is the existence of a divine creator who could overcome the unlikely appearance of life in our universe.